Beauty is something almost impossible to grab. But we can still try. Beauty is coming, for me, in architecture, comes from vibration, lightness, transparency, accessibility, visibility, clarity. They are all coming together to create a place for people where people feel well and they feel home and they feel part of the same community. I'm Italian. I love opera. I love music. Making a place for opera, but it's not just for opera, because also.
Καλησπέρα σας.
Well, good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you in the 61st regular assembly of the Special Committee of the Greek Committee, together with the Stavros Niarchos Foundation for the SNFCC. I think this is a very special meeting for us all because it is actually held within the SNFCC. We know that it has now entered the final stage from a construction phase, and now this is done before journalists. So, for this reason, before we actually start with our introductions, I'd like to request of Mrs. Vlavianou to inform us about the framework of this meeting today and the flow of the discussion. Thank you, Mrs. Vlavianou. Thank you. Good evening. For the first time, as Ms. Labropoulou said, we are opening up the SNFCC building, and this is, in fact, the alternative stage of the National Opera. And we started with a small tour of the journalists to part of the buildings, and we had 52 journalists present in this small tour. And now we're on to the next part of this of the day, which is the assembly. This is the main reason that we're here today. And we are very pleased indeed because besides the stakeholders that are sitting on the assembly, we have, in fact, 61 journalists with us. Now, we're going to go on to the introductions without further ado, but I think that we should give you some background information about the flow of this meeting. The assembly meeting will last for about 1 and 1.5 hours, during which each and every stakeholder represented in the assembly will tell us a few words about the steps that have been made since the last assembly on the 11th of January. And they will inform the other members of the assembly about various issues pending. And then, for 1 more hour, the members of the assembly will take the questions that will be put by the journalists that have remained with us, and we'd like to thank them for that, as well as those who are actually watching the live streaming on SNF.org. And they can also send us their questions electronically through questions@snf.org. So this is already live. You can, in fact, send your questions as of now, and it will be up and running until midnight. Now, if we don't have the time to answer all the questions during this assembly, we will be able to respond in due course in the following days. Now, in the framework of the Q&A session, in order to be able to actually steer the course of our discussion, we'll have 3 themes. The first 15 minutes will be for construction issues, the second for issues that pertain to the transition period until it is handed over to the Hellenic Republic, and the other quarter of an hour will be given to talk about the future operation and management of the project, and in the last quarter of an hour we will take the questions from the audience. Now, for those who are actually watching the live streaming, we'd say that this is a foretaste that we have given to the journalists and the members of the assembly, and they have seen for themselves the buildings. But we must say that our intention is, through the operation of the new visitor centre that was inaugurated a few days ago, for you all to come and see the building site and park for yourselves, and through the 4-day open events that are scheduled from the 23rd up to 26th of June inclusive to have organised tours of the buildings, and that means that the whole world will be able to see the building and the park for themselves. Now, that is all from me. Over to you. Thank you very much. We are now going to go on with the introductions. I'd like to say that we have slightly changed the way that people are seated so that people can be next to the supervising authority. So we have the Ministry of Finance. They're going to be the owner of the project, the body that will supervise the Société Anonyme, which is the SNFCC. And we have the Ministry of Education with the National Library of Greece. And, of course, we have the representatives of the National Opera. I'll start, Mr. Kareglis, with you, and then we're going to go over to New York in order to hear the words of Mr. Drakopoulos, the president of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Sofia Dimitrakopoulou, Ministry of Finance. Yannis Trochopoulos, SNFCC. Dimitris Protopsaltou, SNFCC. Lenya Vlavianou, SNF. Yannis Padis, Secretary General for the Ministry of Education, Research and Religious Affairs. Stavros Niarchos, I'm the Chairman of the Council of the National Library of Greece. Philippos Sipoglou, I'm the Secretary General of the National Library of Greece. Gerasimos Giannopoulos, I'm the Legal Advisor of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Papadis Levidotheus, Fade Wilson Gould, I am the Advisor for the Management of the project. Manos Brailas, representative of the Tsadlini Paridino Tena, the constructing company. Elin Dreopilu, Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Anna Kouskouri, friends and patrons of the SNFCC. Adonopoulos Christos, Ministry of Environment and Energy. Theodoros Maravellias, Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Thanasios Theodoropoulos, I'm the President of the Board of Directors of the National Opera. Yoris Michailidis, Artistic Director of the National Opera. Panagiotis Douros, Ministry of Culture. Geros Chauridis, Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Dimitros Kalavos, I am the Mayor of Kalithea. Yannis Zervakis, Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Christina Labraboulou, Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Over to you, New York. We're all from the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. I'm Iouliou Katerini from Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Stavros Vasilakis, Andreas Drakopoulos, Vasilis Samas. Argyro Tsigla. Well, I'd like to say a few things, as we also have visitors with us today, and we also have them online. I think it is a great opportunity to make a small overview, both of the work that the Foundation does, in order to give the context and to talk about the Cultural Centre as a gift of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. What I say is already online, and this is one of our purposes. We try to do and put everything online so that anybody who wants to can find it easily. Now, those of you who are seeing the work of our foundation, who follow our foundation, you know that we've been active for the last 20 years or so. And we are one of the major private charitable organizations in the world, and we make gifts in art, education, sports, and social welfare. The foundation supports organizations, and I'm reading from the blueprint that we have, because sometimes we consider things to be a given fact, but I think it's a very good overview for us all. So we support organizations that are going to make a significant benefit over time to society. And we actually focus on vulnerable groups such as the elderly and children. And they must also show that they are preemptive and have prudent management. We support programs that help the collaboration of the various public and private sector bodies in order to have a better public interest. Now, as of 1996, we have actually given 1.6 billion euros worldwide, and it is in more than 3,300 gifts, 111 states. So in June of 2015, we announced the new initiative of 100 million euros worth as a contribution to the effort to tackle the crisis that is ongoing in Greece. I think this is something that we all know. Now, the purpose that we have is to support immediately the most vulnerable people in Greek society. This initiative, as you well know, actually follows the other two, one of 2012 and the other of 2013, 100 million strong each. Now, our purpose in these immediate initiatives or direct initiatives is relief. I'm saying this because we want to bring about relief from the adverse consequences of the economic and financial crisis. I'm saying this, and this ties in with the cultural centre, because when the crisis actually broke out, there were a lot of thoughts in-house and outside whether it is the appropriate moment within the crisis to actually build a cultural centre for the Greek opera and the National Library of Greece, whilst there were more immediate needs, if you like. We pondered on this long and hard, and I think it's very interesting because in the same discussion that we held upon these issues, we decided to continue with the cultural centre because we believed strongly in the future of Greece, and we believe strongly that we must also give hope, not only to ourselves, but especially to young people. And at the same time, this made us actually focus more on the need to actually provide relief from the crisis, as a result of which we wanted to go beyond the daily gifts that we make to actually start with these three special initiatives, which are 300 million worth. Now, we're very proud of what we've done, and we are actually continuing to make headway, but the Cultural Centre is the biggest individual gift of the foundation. This is a total budget of almost 600 million euros, 590 to be precise, and I would like to say that this includes also 10 million, which we gave 5 and 5 to the two organisations. That means the National Opera and the National Library, in order to help them relocate to their new homes. The Cultural Centre is, in fact, a validation of our commitment to the future of Greece. Now, I would like to talk for 2 minutes about the stakeholders in this project, because once again, we forget and we take it for granted that a lot of organizations have really put the weight behind a project, because as we all see, this project is beautiful. It's aesthetically pleasing. I hope that it will be equally as operational, but I think it's something that has been brought about in 10 years' time. We started as of 2006. In 2007, we signed the MOU with the government of Karamanlis at the time. In 2009, it was actually that we enacted the law at Parliament. A year ago, we had actually selected Renzo Piano, and we agreed that he would undertake to design the project architecturally. In 2012, the construction started. I think that as proud as we are about the project, I think that we're even prouder about the way in which it has actually been implemented. Not only are we within budget, not only are we within the timeline with very small changes, but the procedures that were adopted and implemented make us proud. Indeed, the collaborations that we have had, and we're talking about Europe, and we will look at the negative points, what is not functional. But I'd like to remind you all that Greece in 2004 actually won the Football Cup with a German coach. If collaborations are good, they can bring about the appropriate political rewards. We've seen this in our work, whether this is, in fact, the collaboration with Renzo Piano's office and Renzo Piano himself, who has been a personal friend to us and a friend of Greece more generally, and with his team, both in his office and in Paris and in Italy. Moreover, with Greek collaborators such as Betaplan. Afterwards, we have the theatre project, Aruk and LDK, expedition officers here with them, and with respect to the landscaping, Deborah Navis and Eliban Gal, which is a Greek specialist in the field. With respect to construction, we had a different cooperation which has brought about amazing results. Sadly, the Imbregilo has worked together with Derna, and this has been an exceptional collaboration. The project manager, Faithful Gould, and Neil Clemson, Martin Rico, and Mr. Pampas, and also with the legal support, Gerasimos Yiannopoulos and his associates, with Georgis Gerolibos, who over 5 years has spent day and night in order to photograph the whole project and keep a record in this manner. Moreover, I would like to say something which is a very important part of the process to my eyes. When we were thinking about the visitors' centre, the initial one we started with the initial, but we have the final one which opened up a few weeks ago, but we have the initial one that started in 2013. I'm saying this because we had the idea to assign the design of the visitor centre to Greeks. Indeed, Renzo Piano selected himself Panagiotis Korelatos from the University of Patros and Mr. Yotakis from the University of Engineers from the University of Athens, the National Technical University of Athens, and they were the ones to design this initial visitor centre. I'm saying this because sometimes we've taken everything for granted, but we must say a lot of people have worked long and hard to bring about this result. This is true both for Greeks and Europeans. And I don't think that it's by chance that this project is making great headway, and we hope that it will continue to do so. I hope that all my associates in the foundation will accept my congratulations, Mr. Agoridis, and especially Mr. Maravellas, who has actually experienced it from up close. I don't know what he will do when we actually hand over to the Greek state. I think he'll need psychological support, but we'll give him that, no worries. Mr. Tsamis, Mr. Vasilakis. Moreover, Mr. Trochopoulos, who will continue with the Cultural Centre SA after the handover, and Mrs. Andriopoulou. And we must say that we have all experienced this project, and we have really put our back into it, and we've worked very well together. This philosophy of the cooperation and collaboration has shown to me that we have done a lot of good in the context of this assembly. This assembly started in 2007. Now, this is the 61st regular assembly, and we take it for granted. But I don't think that we have elsewhere such a collaboration where we sit around the same table, and we have from the Prime Minister's office a representative from the various ministries, environment, education, from the municipality of Kalithea, from the National Library and the Greek Opera, all around the same table, together with representatives of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. and this means public and private sectors together. This collaboration has been exceptional as of 2007 onwards. And I think we've had 5 or 6 prime ministers, 5 or 6 governments, and we must say that we've all worked extremely well together. And I think that what is a very good hallmark here is that we all believed in each other, and we all have a single common agenda to make this project into a success. This was also the purpose of the foundation after the handover. We wanted to be simple visitors and nothing else. We're also Greeks. We will look to assist this project. We have promised that if it actually operates well, and this is something that actually is difficult, but if it operates well, we will be by their side as a foundation that will help our country as much as possible. But it must operate well, and the indications that we have from this assembly are very promising indeed. And first and foremost, what's important is there is transparency and there is a single agenda. We all want this to be a success, because even if it's only simply a cultural centre, I believe that upon this we can build a lot of other things as a country and in the shape and form of different collaboration. And this is a matter of necessity, no longer a matter of choice. That is all from me. I would like to actually hand over to you, Athens.
Thank you. That was a very optimistic message. And now, let us carry on with various briefings, starting with the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Mr. Zervakis, good afternoon. As I had said in the previous assembly, we shared in the meantime a list of deliverables in view to the handover. We agreed that this list will be our guideline, our beacon in the next year, so that the foundation and the ministries can deliver this project to the public. We met the two organizations and the Ministry of Finance, who, as you've heard, is the owner of the center. Concerning gifts, we have 2 open gifts linked to the cultural center. 2 of them, as you've heard, are the gifts of 5 million each concerning the moving of the National Library and the National Opera to the Cultural Center, as well as the training of their staff. We're moving forward with these 2 gifts, and we expect that very soon the absorption of these funds will be accelerated in order to stick to the original timeline. The Visitors Center, this is the permanent one. We will support the operation of the Visitors Center. The education and other programs are supported thanks to a gift by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. The journey to the Cultural Center project became very popular, so we will continue to support it by extending by another 6 months our support. The library, the National Library and the National Opera will visit 13 regions of Greece. Actually, another program of the National Library will visit 84 libraries all over Greece. The last gift concerns the summer events. After the huge success of last year, I mean, for those who participated, what I'm saying is very well known. We had 40,000 visitors, young people who engaged with the events. So we thought of renewing our commitment to this series of events. So from the 23rd to the 26th of June, we'll be glad to have you here with us again. These 5 gifts are no coincidence. Each individual gift serves an individual purpose. The first is, of course, the moving and the training of the staff. The Visitors Center supports actions within our premises. The Journey Project actions outside our premises, and then the summer events constitute a foretaste of the potential of the cultural center. We hope that the 5 gifts and our efforts will contribute to the proper functioning and operation of the center. Thank you. Thank you. And now Mrs. Andriopoulou, who will present the impact assessment of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, prepared by Boston Consulting on behalf of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Please keep your questions for the end of the presentation. We have representatives from Boston Consulting Group who will be happy to take your questions. We will, of course, upload the study on our website after the end of this event. Thank you. As you've just heard, the gifts of the Foundation have intensified recently, which means that we have to assess the positive impact that we are trying to achieve. So in our mode of operation, we integrate more and more impact assessments, studying our interventions, starting, of course, by the number 1 gift of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. The first impact assessment took place in 2010 by Boston Consulting Group. Now, coming closer to the completion of the project and in view of the macroeconomic situation, we decided to update the study. The results are presented today. As Ms. Lamberpoulou said, the study, the analytical study, the impact assessment by Boston Consulting will be uploaded on our website. All pictures belong to Yoris Gerolimos, and various artists' impressions come from A-Lab. The impact assessment is structured around 3 main thematic axes. The first is the positive impact of the center as a destination for the local population and visitors of Greece. Second, a model of environmental sustainability. And third, strengthening the Greek economy, thanks to the construction and the operation of the project. We'll take each axis one by one. A destination for the local population and the visitors of Greece. There's no doubt that this is an architectural landmark designed by Renzo Piano, a world-acclaimed architect. This gift is the most important one in recent Greek history. For these reasons, mainly for these reasons, international press has made a series of positive comments about the project, strengthening the image of Greece abroad and making our citizens more proud at a time when Greece is not very welcome in the international press. In the midterm, the cultural center is expected to foster the pole along the coastline of Athens. It will contribute to the rehabilitation of surrounding areas, the creation of a conference center, and others. So we can change the cultural map of Athens by expanding the interest areas beyond the historical center and by contributing to converting Singirou Avenue to an avenue of culture. Tourism is becoming even more important for the economy, contributing more and more to our GDP. According to some estimates, the cultural center can become a pole of its own, a pole of attraction, to attract even more visitors to Athens. The main reason why we can become a destination is the direct impact on the daily lot of the local population and visitors. So the National Library, the park, and the National Opera are designing services and offerings that can improve the life of the population. So from a social and educational point of view, this cultural center is becoming an important pole of attraction. I'll come back to that later. The National Library of Greece in its new premises will be able to properly conserve and showcase historical treasures and antiquities, physically and digitally. It will also become a reference for Greek culture through various programs with the participation of Greek and foreign experts. For the first time, the National Library will be able to lend books, promoting readership. According to some studies, Greece has one of the highest percentages of people who do not read a book on a daily basis at home. So thanks to the new infrastructure, the National Library will be able to offer additional services such as digitization, the use of sound recording studio, as well as a business center. After the relocation, the National Opera will also have the possibility to host international productions and partner with the best operas in the world. The second stage, where we are today, will allow new artists to showcase their talent, and it will also expand the repertoire of the National Opera. We will also launch training programs for young people, expanding our audience, overcoming cultural obstacles, and making opera even more popular in Greece. Then the third pillar is the park, the Stavros Niarchos Park. It will double green areas in the area. There are also, by the way, sport facilities. There's a track and field facilities. We have a playground for children scattered in the park, fostering the imagination of children. And then, of course, the park will be available for leisure and other activities. The park has enough space to host a variety of events, school visits, concerts, environmental workshops, etc., etc. The impact of all these events and services by the three organizations will have a multiplier effect, given that these activities will be offered for free. These events will be open to everyone. For example, you will be able to visit an exhibition in the park, watch a movie, follow a concert, follow programs of the National Library, attend lectures, or follow pocket operas at the Opera House. At the Cultural Center, we'll try to redefine the public space, the open public space, because all the spaces you visited today and many more will be totally open to everyone. The park, the agora, the space between the two buildings, the open area between the National Library and the National Opera, the canal, and the lighthouse, which offers superb view over the coastline and to the Acropolis. At the Cultural Center, the National Library and the National Opera will be fully accessible by people with disabilities. Other technologies will enhance the hearing of people with who are impaired. All three organizations also plan other activities for persons with disabilities, such as sports events, events for the blind, music lessons for children with disabilities. The positive impact of the cultural center, and it's becoming a destination, is already felt. We have four such experiences. First of all, during the construction site was an open university, so to speak. Thanks to the design of Renzo Piano, various architects and students visited this site from all over the world. Even more important is the fact that we used innovative construction practices, very strict safety procedures, and best practices concerning environmental sustainability. The 6,000 workers who spend even one day on the construction site will transfer this know-how to other construction sites all over Greece. For each and every foreign partner, there was a Greek partner, a respective partner in Greece. So these were very fruitful partnerships, which means that Greek design offices or construction companies were able to share innovative methods with their foreign partners. Even the temporary visitors center, as Mr. Drakopoulos said, was carried out in such a way that it allowed the engagement of young people. We launched a Greek open tender for students from all over Greece, from various universities. And by the way, the winners were selected by Renzo Piano himself. So you can imagine how important it was for some students to be able to follow the construction of their own proposal even before graduating. So the temporary visitors center was inaugurated in October 2013. It closed its doors in January 2016. In the meantime, 58,000 visitors were able to visit the center to learn about the project. Actually, some of them participated in some of the more than 300 events and 200 school visits organized in the premises. The pupils of these 200 schools followed programs that were prepared specifically for their age. So this is where we started this morning. We opened the permanent visitor center 2 weeks ago. It is the first finished, completed building of the center that is now open to the public. The events will continue in the permanent visitors center. The interest peaked last year in June 2015 with the engagement of 40,000 people. 40,000 visitors came to the park. They enjoyed concerts, various other events, midnight video projections until 6 o'clock in the morning. They participated to sports and environmental events. The lucky ones, some of the lucky ones, played chess with Garry Kasparov and listened Renzo Piano himself talking about the environmental sustainability of the project. As we said earlier, another cycle of events will take place during 4 days this year as well. People will be able to also visit the buildings of the construction site. In order to further enhance the impact of the cultural center before its inauguration, and in the understanding that not everyone can visit the construction site, the cultural center with the National Opera and the National Library of Greece and WWF and Future Life traveled all over Greece and engaged with 20,000 participants who followed pocket opera concerts. They participated in debates in local libraries, and they participated in various other activities in the regional parks. The Cultural Center continues its journey in April and in May with pocket opera performances all over Greece. The second axis is the environment. We want to become a model of sustainability. You can tell this from the very construction of the building. You can tell it from the infrastructure and from how we dealt with biodiversity in the area. The Cultural Center will be the first public building in Greece which will receive the LEED Platinum certification. It will be actually one of the very few buildings all over the world which will enjoy this certification. But what does that mean in practice? It means that the materials we purchased are recycling from as close as possible. We recycled 95% of construction debris. Glues, chemicals, paints, etc. are low emission ones, which is the best care for the air, for the workers and the future visitors. We also focused on the energy efficiency of the building and the optimal use of water. We focused also on innovation in all aspects of construction. For example, 85% of the total area has been transformed into a green area. We also installed 10,000 square meters of PV panels. Heat insulation is high level, which means 2,750 tons less of CO2 per annum. In terms of cost, this is 600,000 euros less. Concerning the use of water, we are watering the park with non-drinkable water. We try to minimize evaporation. We have anti-flood protection for an area that has suffered in the past, and we also reuse the effluent from the center. We also support a unique biodiversity. We're talking about 210,000 square meters of park, creating a microclimate that lowers the temperature in the area. Out of these, 17,000 square meters are planted green roofs. As you can see here, actually you can see here the already planted roof of the parking building. 1,450 trees from the Mediterranean, together with 280,000 bushes, so very low requirements in the water. As soon as we started, since we started planting, we saw birds and insects back to this area. The third impact axis is the strengthening of the Greek economy. During construction, the project contributed with 1.1 billion to the Greek GDP, 0.2% per annum. We created 13,600 jobs, and we also contributed to public revenue, increased by 57 million. Now, on an annual basis, during the operation phase, we are creating 2,300 jobs, and we contribute to the GDP with 140 million per year. Revenue for the state, 19 million per year. All this is due to three sources. First of all, the very operation of the center, the cultural center. Second, this is spending by the visitors in the center and also in the surrounding areas. and then the multiplier effect for the economy to households, suppliers, etc. As I said earlier, the cultural center is expected to contribute every year with 19 million in terms of public revenue, thanks to the economic activity in and around the center. At the same time, the new company, the new SA company, and the National Library and the National Opera will need additional state funding for the operation in order to be able to offer all these services and projects I mentioned earlier. The total amount required will be 16 million per year. This means a net positive balance for the state budget. For the center to properly operate and in order to achieve the maximum positive impact, there are some prerequisites. As you know, we have prepared the groundwork on the basis of a private-public partnership model. This includes the new legal framework, the result of close cooperation between the Stavros Niarchos Foundation and the state, the creation of the Special Advisory Committee convening today, and which has convened since 2007. And last but not least, transparency from day one. There was a live webcam showing the progress of works here. We used a special software for the electronic governance of the construction, and all this leads, of course, to today's meeting. The state will take delivery of and will manage the project. We need to support the state in this exercise. All three organizations, to various extents, will also need qualified staff, which will be hired on meritocratic criteria, and of course we need a budget on the basis of international standards. Finally, it is important to attract visitors, and this presupposes an interesting program, engagement with the public, and improved access, improved public transportation. Then partnerships. This is very important. Partnerships between friends and patrons and the existing partners and suppliers and the society in general. Specifically for the Cultural Center SA, the board to be appointed by the state must be in a position to keep contributing to the further growing of the center, promoting its training and cultural role. Finally, we need to adapt the legal framework of the National Library so that the National Library can lend books and provide other services. As you will also hear later, important steps are being taken in all these directions. If this continues and if we double our efforts, we can be optimistic that the center, the cultural center, can have the desired impact. It can become a destination for visitors and Greeks alike. It can become a model of sustainability, and it can continue supporting the Greek economy during its operation. Thank you very much. I'm here to take your questions.
If there are no questions from the members of the committee for Mrs. Andreopoulou, I think we can go on to Mr. Breiles, who is the representative of the construction consortium. He can talk about the progress of the works and the time schedule for the completion of the cultural centre. You have the floor. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. Good morning to New York. I'd like to thank first and foremost the President of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, Mr. Drakopoulos, for his kind words with respect to the contribution of our consortium in this major project. I would like also in turn to say that all who participated in this unique project from a construction point of view also have been very fascinated by the vision of the foundation and by the architect Renzo Piano. We have worked with some of the major design offices in Greece and abroad, and the result of this exceptional cooperation is what we all see before our eyes here today. Ms. Andriopoulou talked about it quite comprehensively, but I will say but a few things. This is the initial plan of the works. We actually signed the contract on the 28th of September 2012, and we started a month later on the 23rd of October. The two important milestones were, first and foremost, the foundations of buildings and the construction of the hill that has now become a wonderful park. And this was the 28th of September 2013. It was achieved. We were within the timeline completely. And the very difficult point was to complete the load-bearing frame of all the buildings. And we actually delivered 4 days before the deadline for it. And as Mr. Dragopoulos said, there were certain minor details that will actually remain pending because of the archaeological works in the surrounding area. But we are going to hand over the 31st of March in 2016. And this is the entire project. And we are 95% within the complete financial value already absorbed. Now, this is a diagram, a plan that shows you the various points. You'll see it on the site. I won't actually speak about it analytically. Today, on the 20th of February, this was the state of affairs. We see the main points we have pending are on the esplanade, where we have the planting that hasn't been done and the various road works in the surrounding area. You saw quite a few photos, but I'll show you a few more. Now, you see the scaffolding is being removed slowly but surely. It's for the covering of the systems that allow the movement on the roof, and these are being removed in these last few days. Now, this is the lighthouse construction. It's between the rooftop of the opera and the area on top, which provides shading and protection. And we see that 60% of the PV panels have already been established. You see the mast, it's been placed. And by the end of March, we expect that all of this will have been actually completed. The park has actually been completed. We have the playgrounds. Now, still underway, we have the stage engineering. It's behind the stage. And these are going to be complete and handed over on the 31st of March. Now, this is the main hall. You see that the seats have already been placed on top. And we will also have the 600 seats in the main area. Now, here you see the place where we are today, this hall here. So these are the latest works underway. I must say that the weather is to our favour. So apart from the few pending points that have to do with the archaeological works, the rest of the park will be handed over on the 31st of March. Thank you very much. I am at your disposal for questions after the end. Thank you, Mr. Brailes. Now, we have the 31st of March as the take-home point, and that is when you're going to hand over to the Hellenic Republic. And now we must say that the Cultural Centre is, in fact, very much hard at work for the handover process. Where are we now? Well, today we are here in the second stage. I think that's the only point that's certain. And this pleases us all. It's a very good thing. Now, as you know, the preparation has started as of 2012. So that means that I must say that since then, and even beforehand, we were actually working together with the library and the opera, and this is the final phase. We're discussing all the situation and issues that have to do with our agreements amongst ourselves according to the initial timeline and all the deliverables that we have taken into account. I must confess that it is a great pleasure for me and a great honour to work together with the persons responsible for the organisations and the ministries. I must say that this has been truly an exemplary way of collaborating, because despite the challenges and issues, we have managed to find a way forward, and we have managed to find the solutions that will enable the correct handover to the Greek state, and of course the smooth relocation of the two bodies in the facilities. I don't have anything to give you to flesh out the details, but we have been actually talking with the Ministry of Finance on a very, very frequent basis. And we hope to bring about results within the timeline that the handover will happen from the construction company to the cultural centre. Mr. Propsaltou can tell you about the efforts made by the Société Anonyme for its preparation for the handover. Well, I will be quite brief. Anything else that you might need can be asked. Now the company is preparing the manner in which it will operate. Specifically, there are various tenders launched, and it's also organising its own operation. Of course, this has to do with the management of its infrastructure, both the building and technological infrastructure and the park. And this is actually in line with the contractual obligations of the company. And of course, this is done in an excellent and close collaboration with the two organisations that will actually be relocated here, the library and the opera. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I see a lot of work and few words. Everything's on time. That's a good thing. Thank you very much, both of you. Now, let us go without further ado with the respect to the information that has to do with the National Library of Greece and its relocation operation in the Stavros Niarchos Cultural Centre. We'll start with Mr. Padis, who is responsible for the Ministry of Education, then Mrs. Bouleks and Mrs. Tipoglou afterwards. Well, I would like at the outset to say something that what I felt when I first came here, how impressive it is. And I think this is something that the whole of Greece should learn about what we're doing here. This is, in fact, a truly magnificent project, and I've seen amazing things with respect to the library and the opera and the relevant infrastructure. I'd like to say that this project, as it has been designed and as it is actually making headway in a period of crisis, as Mr. Dragopoulos says, is in fact a ray of hope. It shows what we can do in the future if we actually have the correct collaboration between the public sector and the private bodies in Greece. And in this period where we talk about the restarting of Greece, I think that this is an exemplary project which really contributes to illustrating how we can actually restart our economy. I think the public and private partnership is, in fact, the way to go. Thank you very much for this good result. Now, the Ministry of Education is actually following the timeline very strictly, and all the obligations with respect to the library. And we see that we have drawn down the appropriate amount to 2,800,000, and the 36 permanent staff positions in a very difficult period for new appointments have been actually affected, and the new law for the National Library that will enable it to give additional and up-to-date services has been submitted by the National Library to the Ministry. We are actually processing it together with our advisors, and it will actually be brought before Parliament very soon. Now, I would like to say a few more words about something that's new, above and beyond the standard obligations. I think we should actually see what we can do in order to improve things even more and have, in fact, an even better result. So that means that if we go beyond these standard obligations, the Ministry of Education is actually designing educational programs. We are already talking with the opera and the library and the Ministry of Culture and the SNFCC in order to actually realize, as of the new school year, new programs for the cultural centre. Indeed, we are working in the partnership agreements framework with Mr. Ioannidis, and we are designing and going to submit the programme, and it has 3 axes. First, the upgrading the education given to educators. So we want to upskill our primary and secondary school teachers, and we want to actually incorporate new technologies in the National Library of Greece, but also we want to actually allow them to get to grasp with the new technologies introduced in the cultural centre. And we want the educators to really learn to use them in order to have an added effect at schools. 2, the second action that we are currently implementing are designs for practical training, whereby the students of those departments that are related to the library, the opera and the cultural centre to come here, and these would be subsidised programmes from the Ministry of Education, to come here to learn, to assist and to play a positive role for the cultural centre. 3, I think this is the most important. These will be visits for pupils from the broader area of Athens, but also from further afield. We're going to try to bring people from outside the Attica basin in order to see for themselves what is happening here and to take with them this very positive aura, which is of a completely educational nature, at least in our eyes. This is being planned today as we speak, and I think as of the next school year, these 3 actions will actually come to tie in with the other plans that the cultural centre has in order to underpin this relationship between the public and private sectors. Thank you. In these meetings, we tend to say kind words and go about things conventionally, but I'd like to avoid this risk. But from the side of the National Library, I'd like to say that this moment is, in fact, something that makes us hope that we're coming to the end of this history, but frequently the problems actually raise their ugly head at the end, but we hope that we'll be able to overcome any issue that might arise. So the National Library is not the building premises, it's the institution. And thanks to the very generous gift of Stavros Niarchos Foundation, can come to relocate to this amazing building that you saw. And of course, it will also retain its historical building, the Valianio. And this will not be an empty shell. It will not be an exhibit. It will be a living part of the National Library. Don't ask me what will be done there because we have not finalized yet its function. Now, my second point is that On the occasion of this relocation, the National Library is actually making every effort to reinvent itself, to actually establish itself from scratch and to offer new services. Now, all of this is done due to the excellent collaboration we have with the Ministry of Education, which is our supervising ministry, Mr. Felix, Mr. Peregrines, and Mr. Badis, and with the Cultural Centre, with everybody, with Mr. Trojopoulos and everybody else. But I must say that the National Library, its council, its director and personnel in the last period of time have played, in fact, a stronger role in actually shaping the National Library, its functions, because they are the ones that know best what is this work that has been done and can keep a steady hand on the helm. So I'd like to say a few last words about the law. The law actually retains the public law entity of the National Library. Now we have actually given a bill to the Ministry of Education, which is studying it, but our council is actually deliberating in order to give riders on the document and to be able to actually improve it. And we hope to have a law that will help us function well and which will support the new course of the National Library. Now, I'd like to say that these 36 employees of permanent staff will, in fact, be very important for the National Library, which is completely understaffed, and it's done according to the ASEP process for hiring civil servants, but we have the National Library determining the qualifications. That means that we were the ones who gave a list of qualifications that these people had to have. That's the point I wanted to underscore, and that's the take-home message that I wanted to impart. That means the National Library, from the lowest employee to the highest council, are putting the weight behind this very important plan of the new National Library. Mr. Tsipoglou.
The National Library in the last 2 years has been working on the relocations from the Valianio and the Botanikos to the Cultural Centre, Stavros Niarchos Foundation. So we prepare ourselves, we prepare our people, those left to us, who have been supporting us in the last years. But we will also start supporting our future partners, employees, other libraries all over Greece, as well as the public, for this huge exercise, for this leap forward. Well, you've got an idea of the sheer volume of this leap forward. In a few months, once again, thanks to the help and the support of the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, we hope that we all get a taste of the content in reality, and this is the ultimate objectives. Thanks to this gift of 5 million by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, which comes on top of the gift, that is the building, the National Library is preparing. It's much more than putting books in boxes. It takes a lot of preparation. It's about the upgrading of our services. It's about fulfilling our mission, the current and our future mission. So many thanks, of course, to the Foundation for this additional gift, But allow me to offer a rare thank you to the state, the representatives of the ministries, because had it not been for the support of the ministry, wouldn't have all the additional support that came in later. Thanks to the gift to the future library, thanks to the partnership with the Foundation and the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance, thanks to this partnership, we have been able to put to good use this gift. We started in the summer of 2014 with a design study, a study submitted to the board, to the foundation, to the ministry. So the money has started pouring in a few months ago. So we are working on the sorting of books and documents. We are putting aside the most precious ones. We have 4 safes here, safe areas offering ideal conditions for the conservation of books and documents. We mark each and every document with an RFID. We started the cleaning of books a month ago. We have cleaned 68,500 books not been cleaned for about 15 years. And after the RFID labels, we will then start putting books in boxes, which will then be transferred to their permanent positions. We will also acquire additional books. Mind you, we haven't bought any books for the last 20 years, so we have started buying books both for our research projects but also for the public. And these books will be available to the public. Another action is developing digital actions. A repository will be created, open, accessible by everyone all over the planet. And we have, of course, the digital documents. Then, as you know, we are not a really public library today. We do not lend books. We have no public. We have no customers, with the exception of school visits. So we will hire a consultant for the next few months in order to develop our collection, but also to develop these programs. 4th action, developing our relations with the public. This is the 4th initiative. We also engage in partnerships with other libraries in Greece. We started in 2014. So the future library will further promote this approach. A new seminar will take place in 2016 all over Greece with the participation of some 140 libraries. And then we will work on our new identity. The 5th action concerns staff training. The new services require skills that we don't possess in adequate quantities today, so we have to build the skills of our staff. From the handover, we have 6 months at our disposal to complete the relocation. We have millions of volumes, a few thousand tons probably, and then 2 more months in order to prepare ourselves within the building. So this is a tremendous opportunity for the National Library. It is a tremendous opportunity for the Greek society. We should not miss the opportunity, a lifetime opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Zoumoulakis, Mr. Tsimboulou, Mr. Pandis. It's a very optimistic message, seeing the library developing and becoming what it should be. Let us now move forward with the National Opera. Mr. Douros will start representing the Ministry of Culture, and Mr. Theodoropoulos, and then Mr. Michailidis, who will discuss the preparations of the National Opera. Very succinctly, the guided tour was admirable today. Now, there are two facets in each and every issue. We started with excavations in this area. We found interesting antiquities. We discovered almost a new city. I want to congratulate the ecological services, Mrs. Chrysoulaki, and also many congratulations to the hundreds of workers and archaeologists who made this wonder come true in a minimum of time. Mr. Maravellas, many thanks to you, and many thanks to the archaeologists. Now, the other facet is the modern reality, the National Opera. A new, revamped opera in a very poor economic situation. We filled in this gap of 2 million. Remember what was happening in this country last summer. We concluded with our internal regulation. We completed the positions in our orchestra. We reshuffled the board of directors, and now we have an operational plan. In other words, the National Opera is becoming a standard opera in all respects, and this is the best answer, the best response, if you will, to those who still wonder what will happen after the handover. Well, I believe this will definitely be a success story. All the best. If I may congratulate Mr. Douros, because he said what I wanted to say. Concerning the financial problems we had in the last months, we received this additional 2 million, which allowed us to overcome our financial impasse. Let me just say a few words about the regulation, the internal regulation, and the business plan of the National Opera. The rest, the partnership with the Cultural Center, will be dealt with by Mr. Michailidis. So we concluded with the law providing for the new internal regulation of the National Opera. It had been submitted to the Ministry of Culture some time ago, and it seems that in the next few days it will be handed over to the Ministry of Reform and to the Ministry of Finance and the Council of the State for approval. All positions will be filled in the next 5 years, thanks to the new organizational chart, taking into account the present situation of the staff. The National Opera has submitted to the Ministry of Culture a 5-year business plan, which provides that we need 14.5 million euro subsidy per year in order to be successful, in order to be able to operate in the cultural center. I would like to clarify that the minimum state subsidy, the 14.5 million, is necessary not only in view of the relocation to the center, but also for its year-by-year operation. Thank you. I'll be very brief, says Mr. Michailidis. Various staff of the National Opera are visiting the center to get an idea of the working conditions here. The sound tests will start in April with the orchestra and the choir on both stages in order to draw the proper conclusions. As Mr. Douros said, We are filling the positions of the orchestra, thanks to the Ministry of Culture. With regard to the use of the grant, the additional grant of 2 million, we're trying to put to good use these monies. We invest, of course, in the relocation, but we will also spend monies in training the staff. There are sponsorships, of course. And then we have our planning, enhancing the alternative stage. We have partnerships with other operas. And last but not least, the training programs. Let me just say also that we look forward to the new era. During the test period, we will resolve all issues that might arise concerning also our staff, who are the soul of this project. Allow me to thank publicly, once again, the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, the Ministry of Culture, who has always been on our side, as well as the Ministry of Finance, which also has always been on our side and keeps responding to our reasonable requests. Let me conclude by saying that the National Opera is looking forward to the relocation with great enthusiasm, because we will be able to breathe again against the backdrop of decades of great performances. Thank you so much. We are really confident about the future of the National Opera. And now let me give the floor to the Ministry of Finance, which will be playing a crucial role in the future operation of this center. The ministry is the future owner. We understand you have engaged in partnerships with all bodies, including the SA company. So we are all ears. Where do you stand today?
Well, first and foremost, let me thank the Foundation and the Cultural Centre SA. It's a very important vision for Greece, for the Greek citizens and the culture. The Minister and the Ministry want to protect the public interest and, in due course, we want to facilitate the handover procedures and for these to take place in the best possible manner. We are now holding weekly meetings with the Foundation and with the Cultural Centre SA, and we are coordinating with the other bodies, the Secretariat General for Public Assets, which used to be called Kiev, and we want to actually be in line with the timeline that was given to us, and we want to make certain that we can make the appropriate headway, as we've already managed to achieve all the milestones with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Culture. From now on, we are awaiting from the Cultural Centre SA, and we're hoping that in the first 6 months of 2017 we'll be able to open the project to the people, and this will truly please us all. Well, without a doubt, the timeline will be further updated according to the time that we will need for the comprehensive handover of the project, and we will be in a very frequent contacts with you about these matters. Ministry of Environment, Mr. Adamopoulos, we saw that during the impact study how important it is to have access to the cultural centre, because this is a function of the number of visitors, and this is something that we want to actually foster. Now, have we found a solution? Are we going to find a way to connect the cultural centre with the metro and tram? Thank you. I would like to thank the Foundation. It has really given us a very exhaustive tour. I must say that I came and I felt a huge concern. How will we be able to actually take on this huge energy costly organization? I was together with Mr. Baravellas in the store, and you have put my mind to rest on many of these topics because I see that these have been taken into account. You have already addressed all the principles of bioclimatic architecture so that we do not waste energy in the buildings and to be able to generate energy also. And this was something that I have seen for myself with great pleasure. Now, with respect to the matter that you broached, you know that the key choice of the Athens Master Plan and the Attica Master Plan is to reinforce the north-south axis with the interconnection of the two poles of the metropolitan centre, Marousi and Falliro. Now, in this context, the context of the key choice of the master plan, we are also serving the connection of the cultural centre and the Bay of Falliro with Athens through light rail. As I've already informed you during our last assembly, we have actually had the collaboration between the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Infrastructure. Recently, Mr. Dedes, who's the Secretary General for Infrastructure, informed me that the matter of the connection of the city with the Bay of Falliro will be put to the new Board of Directors of Adigometro, which is going to be establishing a body in the next few days or so. Now, another issue here is the development of the Bay of Falliro on the basis of a study that had been prepared in the past. And that is why we are actually discussing this with the region. And so far, we have not actually anything concrete from these discussions. Thank you. Thank you very much. We hope that we will soon find a way to address the issue of access. It's something of great importance. So, as I know it's of great interest to the Mayor of Galicia, I'd like to hand over to him now, and he will update us about the municipality. Thank you. I will be brief. Our concern as the first users, but not the exclusive ones, is what Mr. Dragopoulos said. For the project to operate well, in order to do so, we have to ensure the access of the visitors. Thus, the progress that Mr. Antonopoulos has described is satisfactory for us. We think it is a good thing that the design has changed and there is a reference of the metro line to the cultural centre as line 4. But let's look at what the government will do action-wise, because this is a joint competence, and let us see how the study will flesh this out. This is very important, and we are following this. We hope that we will see progress in this field as soon as possible. Obviously, the local community is greatly interested in seeing how this investment will be leveraged. This is a truly great gift, and we hope that it will, in fact, be showcased into an international pole of attraction for tourists, and that means that we need to complete the design, as Mr. Adnoblu says, with the twin project for the redevelopment of the coastline. We hear from the local government that there is, in fact, a new design, and we hope that the municipality of Galicia will be able to discuss this on a new basis without any delays about this new framework. And we hope that we'll soon see the doors of the library, the opera, and the cultural centre open the doors. So that means that we will be able to reap the synergies, good practices, and see that the centre will be able to disseminate educational and cultural programs, and we'll be able to reap the rewards as we saw in the Boston Consulting Group. Now, that is the view of the local community. From there on, we have a lot of new ideas. This also has to do with the experimental stage, the second stage where we're currently situated, and we were able to discuss recently with the friends and patrons of the Stavros Niarchos Cultural Centre. So we are also awaiting to see what the ROP of Attica is going to do in order to actually announce the instrument for the territorial development. So that means that Galicia, Moscato, Alimos, the library and opera will be able to participate to earmark money for projects and services that will support this large gift. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Karnavos. Now, let us go on to the last update from the friends and patrons of Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Centre. We had asked Mrs. Bouzouri to talk about the mission of the Friends and Patrons organization and the relationship of the organization with the various stakeholders in this project. Thank you very much, Mrs. Labropoulou. I'd like to first thank the Stavros Niarchos Foundation and the Cultural Centre for hosting us here today. I must say that I felt very moved, not simply to see this project with our own eyes, because we've been talking about it for years. Thank you very much. Now, before I kick off my presentation, I would like to actually speak personally, because a lot of people don't know us. I'm from the banking sector. I'm an economist. In this context, in 2005, I had the honor to be invited from the Stavros Niarchos Foundation to participate in the Greek Advisory Committee. And it was in that period of time that we actually discussed very broadly and in depth the matter of the gift. So at that time, we see that the idea was born from the moment that the gift was actually decided to actually create an independent agency, a private agency, independent from the foundation, that would actually underpin the furthering of the purposes of the cultural centre, especially during the transition, but even more importantly, after the handover to the Hellenic Republic. So this was actually established in 2015 by 5 people, Mrs. Kostopoulou, Ms. Karatidi. We have her with us today, Mr. Schwartz and myself, and you will actually see that they all have a distinct background, but they are all very interested in culture. Before that, we also had a not-for-profit agency in Germany, in Munich, and we want to actually mobilize the international audience in order to support the cultural centre. And for tax reasons, the international audience requires a platform that operates also abroad. Now, this is our vision. We want to be an organization with a very strong Greek and international prestige. We want to support the cultural centre in order to establish itself as one of the supreme cultural centres worldwide. But I think after the tour that we saw today, that we participated in today, nobody will contest that we are going to be one of the top-notch cultural centres worldwide, because it has been actually addressed with such great and good intentions. Now, we wanted also this to be a centre of competence, so that this would enable interdisciplinary activities in art education environment. We heard it by Mr. Andriopoulou during her presentation. For us, this is not simply a fact that we have together, side by side, the library, the opera, and the environmental park. It is an opportunity in order to actually forge synergies, which is behind the very concept of the cultural centre. That means that we have to experience the fact that education, culture, and art are one and the same thing, and we want to draw in the Greek and foreign visitors, especially young people, in order to be active members and to feel as if this unique project belongs to them. Now, how will we go about it? Of course, this will be in close collaboration with the bodies and the Cultural Centre SA, with educational programs. Mr. Badis has also referred to them. The public sector wants to launch them, and we would be very happy to help with scholarships, with the organisation of seminars and internships for talented students and professionals from the whole of Greece in environment, arts and culture, and the management. So this is not simply the ideas, but we want to manage them. We want to exchange best practices and transfer know-how. And that means that we're launching projects with the three bodies. That means the Cultural Centre, the National Opera, the National Library, and the park, with the international organisation in those fields. And we want to host social, educational, and entertainment activities. And we want to develop another initiative, the My SNFCC. We don't want to tell people that we know it all. We want, quite to the contrary, to create a platform where we will have an open invitation to the friends and supporters and to the public, who are not our friends and patrons yet, to tell us about their view of the SNFCC. We want to create a platform. It will actually be on our site. So through bringing together these actions, we will be able to realize the initiatives of the visitors, and we will enable the visitors to actually create and forge their own visit. I think ownership will actually reach very high levels when the visitors will tell us how they want the visits to shape up. But of course, this will be done together with the bodies and the Cultural Centre SA. Now, this is the key idea of our logo. This is our identity, our corporate identity. At the very centre is man. And from there, you see that we have almost 1,000 actions that radiate out from them, the persons, and they come back to them. But of course, we see that we have not yet predefined the limits. I think that's something that goes hand in hand with environment and culture. I would like to say that this is the beauty of it. That's my view, at least. So this is how the friends and patrons see things. Now, organisation administration. We want this to be a very lean organisation. We will employ a small number of exceptionally well-qualified people who will look to actually run the programmes together with the bodies. And we want to attract new members, of course, and patrons and sponsors. At the same time, we want to mobilise volunteers in order to support individual actions. The Greek organisation will be administered by a board of directors that has 5 members, whilst the German organisation will be supported by an advisory committee. And we see that the founding members were invited to be part of the board of directors. They accepted it. And we had the mayor of Kalithea on the board, and ex officio will also be a member of the board, of course, as long as he wants it. So he'll be always a member of the board of Friends and Patrons, because as Mr. Canova said, if the local community does not embrace it, and the mayor is always the representative of the local community, then we have actually lost our way somewhere. Now, the financing will be done by gifts and from contributions of friends and patrons. I understood that the programs would be free. Anyway, we'll see how things will shape up, but we see this in major museums at least. There is a voluntary fee as a ticket, and this helps finance the various activities. Now, where do we find ourselves? We're actually developing our website. It will be up and running in the next 4 or 5 weeks. It will be a very simple, accessible, and easy-to-use website. We will actually have quite a few different types of subscriptions, individual, couples, family, and special contributions for students and the unemployed in order to be able to mobilize the greatest number. Of course, we have the opportunity today to be live on this site. You see it, www.friendsofsnfcc.org. If you want, you can send your name and surname and email, and we will actually get back to you as soon as we are up and running in 4 or 5 weeks' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Puscouri. We look forward to the launching of your website. Please do enroll, of course, right after the end of this meeting. So many thanks to all agencies and bodies for their presentations. It's very positive that huge progress is achieved on all fronts. It is equally important that we keep redoubling our efforts. Have lots of work ahead. We need excellent cooperation. We need to work together in order to be able to hand over the project to the state in time, in good shape, and in order to assure the optimal operation of the center in the future. If, of course, we need to achieve the positive impact. The next meetings are on April 4th and May 16th. So this brings us to questions. Mrs. Vlavianou is already in position in the back of this room and who will coordinate the Q&A session. Good afternoon. This is the last part of today's meeting. We are experiencing tremendous developments in this country at a rapid pace. I understand journalists have to follow these developments. Some of them had to go. Now, anyway, I don't know if there will be many questions. However, there's still quite a few here. Journalists and others alike can ask questions. The whole thing is web streamed, as we know. The first theme is the construction of the center. Well, you followed the guided tour. Any technical questions? Well, it seems the guided tour was very complete. Everything was clear. So if there are no questions on the construction aspects of the project, we can move forward to the second theme. It's the handover to the Greek state. What will happen from today, in other words, until the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Cultural Center will hand over this one share to the Greek state. So how will the cultural center change hands? As I said, what will happen from today until the handover? Please, the floor is open. It's very quiet here. Well, if, of course, the members of the committee would like to intervene with some comments, please, well, feel free. Mr. Antonopoulos? I listened very carefully and with lots of interest. Mr. Maravalles, who offered us the guided tour. I was most impressed by the amortization approach of the superstructure. I think that was a very innovative approach. Well, perhaps you could say a few words on that so that the public opinion is better informed. I think you are referring to the anti-earthquake construction. This is what you meant, I believe. Yes, we took earthquakes into account. So we built the building using state-of-the-art technology, which means that in case of an earthquake, we will not feel anything. This is not just about safety, you know. This allowed us to build the building. That was the concern of Renzo Piano. So the building was built using state-of-the-art technology. We built these columns 27 meters high. So the whole roof stands in the air. So there are no horizontal stress on these columns. This also allowed the load-bearing structure to be lighter. Actually, without the use of this state-of-the-art technology, these columns should be, these pillars should be much wider, which meant lesser aesthetics and increased cost. So you should not take this building for granted. So we took every possible measures against earthquakes. Mind you, we also protected the hill. By the way, when we entered the construction site, the site was a landfill full of garbage, including construction and demolition debris. We found mattresses, TV sets, everything here. So we first threw away all this bulk of garbage and debris in order to take away the uncertainty from a static point of view that this entailed. So we sieved the soil, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of soil that we reused later. So the needs in additional material were kept to a minimum. From an environmental point of view, this was a very positive outcome, of course, because you can imagine the tons of CO2 would have emitted for the removal, in the removal of all these debris. And of course, all this CO2 would have been inhaled by the citizens in the area. So this innovative approach was a pioneering effort. It's something that should be studied more carefully in the future. So the state-of-the-art approach meant a much better environmental performance. This is what I was trying to explain to Mr. Antonopoulos during the guided tour, and I believe he referred to this state-of-the-art technology. Ms. Vlavianou, are there any other questions concerning construction, environmental management, the handover to the state, etc.? No? Okay. Then the next theme is, well, this is your last opportunity, by the way, the future operation and management of the cultural center. What will happen after the handover? Any questions? Mrs. Bernardo. Please state the medium you represent. Unfortunately, there's no sound. The microphone is off, I'm afraid. And what about the 19 million you mentioned earlier in terms of revenue? So the balance is positive for the state. Okay, but Mr. Douros, in difficult times, who will pay the 16 million if the revenue hypothesis fails? And as I said, how come you're certain about these 19 million of income to the cultural center? Mr. Andriopoulou probably could answer that, but Mr. Douros, don't forget, represents the Ministry of Culture, so he's only knowledgeable about the National Opera. The two other agencies, the National Library, are answerable to the Ministry of Education, etc. So we're talking about three different ministries here. Mr. Andriopoulou, concerning the 19 million and the finances and the financial activity of the center. Listen, we are not talking solely about the activities within the center. First of all, we have the activities of the three agencies: opera, library, park. They use subcontractors. For example, the SA company will use contractors who will take care of the premises. All this is a source of revenue for the state. Now, the second aspect concerns the spending of visitors. We're talking about tourism, we're talking about services. These are the sectors who will benefit just from the mere presence and operation of the center. For example, visitors of Athens may extend their stay in Athens in order to visit the cultural center. They will stay in a hotel, they will do their shopping, etc., etc. So this is the other contribution to public revenue. And then we have the indirect impact on the economy. Boston Consulting Group, for example, has calculated that the additional income of workers, 2,300 of them, the income of contractors, subcontractors, etc., etc. All this additional income will impact positively the economy in turn. So these are the three main streams of revenue. It's 140 million in general, which means 19 million for the state in terms of taxes, etc. I'm not a specialist, of course, in all these, but the two numbers you mentioned are, on the one hand, the revenue of these agencies until now, compared with the future revenue. So we have 16.5 million on the one hand and 19 on the other. Of course, there's no 19 million right now. This is a future revenue. For the three agencies, the opera, the library, etc., there's regular financing by the state. So these are the numbers you have to compare. Mr. Douros, Ms. Dimitrakopoulou, Mr. Pandis, would you like to add something, probably on behalf of the three ministries supervising the three agencies? No. Okay, fine. Next question, please. Ms. Dimitrakopoulou from the Ministry of Finance. We are working with all three agencies in order to achieve the best possible result concerning, that is, the need to finance them. With the passage of time, the financial results of the SA company will, first of all, benefit the SA company. Otherwise, the two ministries of finance and education, we will do our best so that the budgets required are not prohibitive for the state. We'll try to keep a tap on the budgets. This is what we keep discussing with all interested parties. It's definitely one of our main concerns. Next question. It seems there are no more questions. From New York, Lenya, if you can hear me, if I may, for our guests, let me say that the Friends and Patrons is an independent body, an independent association. It's not related to the center. In any event, the next assemblies will be open as this one. As a Greek, not as a foundation, I'm sorry to say that we had invited about 500 journalists. Some 50 accepted the invitation, and I can only see 20 today. You know, this is about our future. This project will only benefit to everyone, and I dare say that journalists have a moral obligation to convey this positive message to the Greek society, who will be the real owner of this project. We, the Foundation and the Ministry of Finance and the state in general, are just the guardians of this project. The real owners are the Greek society, but they must embrace it. Without them, we will not succeed. And it's not just about the money. It's the interest, the true ownership of the project. So it's a masterpiece. It's a landmark. We should try to build on it. And I personally, I would expect more interest on behalf of the journalists who I invite them to convey the positive message to the Greek society. We are, of course, we have got the habit of bad news, but it is high time that we start receiving good news. Ms. Flavianou, we had opened an e-address for e-questions. We have received a few questions through the web, so if there are no questions from the participants here, let me read out the questions we received by email. The first is from Mr. Daskalakis. Good afternoon. What about the business plan? The cost of operation will be covered by the income. If not, will the state cover the difference, the outstanding balance? I think this has just been answered. We believe that there's a positive balance. Yes, there's a surplus if we take into account the public revenue in the wider sense of the term. Otherwise, all three agencies need state aid in order to operate. There's no cultural organization in the world where costs are lesser than the revenue. In any case, we need sponsorships or other additional funds from private entities, etc. Second question Ms. Mavromichali is asking the following. It's a question to the Ministry of Finance and to the National Library. What about the 36 librarians who will staff the National Library? I have succeeded in a competition. Well, when will the whole thing be completed so that we can start working at the National Library? And by the way, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to attend remotely. Answer. Well, in 1 week from now, I believe we'll be able to publish the whole thing on the government gazette, and then we will move forward very swiftly. Third question, proposal by Mr. Iacovidis. The canal area and the park should probably become available to the public before the launch of the operations of the opera and the library. I hope this will not be a problem for the relocation. So I believe the opening the park will not be a problem. Mr. Marvayes, is this technically possible? And what about the Ministry of Finance, who will be the owner, technically the owner of the project? Any comments? Look, there is a contract in place. First, the project will be completed from a structural point of view, from a construction point of view, as Mr. Vrailes said, and then it will be handed over. This is a very specific procedure. We need for the relevant certificate to be issued first, a delivery certificate. We'll stick strictly to the contract, and then, and only then, the handover will take place. At that time, more or less, a large part of the project, including the park, will be accessible by the public. This is, I would say, a matter of policy to be decided by the government committee. But this will only happen, can only happen after the project has been delivered to the foundation. The foundation will take delivery of the project, as I said, and then it will be handed over to the Greek state. Mrs. Vlavianou, this is the standing decision of the Greek state, yes. Mrs. Dimitrakopoulou, this will happen in the last quarter of 2016, that is the handover, which means that the relocation of the two agencies will start thereafter. Oh, sorry, says Mr. Dimitrakopoulou, before that. The relocation will start before that. So I think that access, free access, is only feasible after the completion of the project at 100%. Now, if some deviations are possible, we will see, but my position is principle is that for safety reasons, we should first complete everything and then allow free access to the park, etc. Well, that was a very interesting question because the whole thing has to do with the local society, with people. But I believe that we should remain as wise we have been until now in the management of the project. We should stick to the contract. Of course, we will not refrain from doing something for the public if we can do it. But we should be careful, making sure that the project will operate in the best possible way after its handover. Ms. Flavianou, thank you very much. No more questions. A last remark. On behalf of the foundation, the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, let me tell you that the next few months are very critical. We need to complete the construction of the project for the purposes of the handover. So our focus is the completion of the construction. We will not engage in massive communications exercise because of the fact that there are so many things to be done here. But in June 23 to 26, we will be open with a series of very interesting events. Now, this is the end of this meeting. The minibuses will be waiting for you outside to transfer you back to the parking. Lenia from New York, allow me to thank all the members of the advisory committee. The current members and all those who have staffed this committee in the last 10 years. A big thank you from us, from the foundation, and a big thank you from a Greek. Ms. Flavianou, thank you very much. This is the end of the meeting.
Το χρωστάμε στους προγόνους μας. Το χρωστάμε στα παιδιά μας. Να βαστίξουμε αναμένη τη φλόγα του πολιτισμού μας. Παρά τις πολύ σοβαρές δυσκολίες που περνάει η χώρα μας σήμερα, όλοι μας πρέπει να βρούμε τρόπους να βοηθήσουμε όσο καλύτερα μπορούμε. Πρέπει να συνεργαστούμε και να στηρίξουμε τους θεσμούς της χώρας μας, δηλαδή την ίδια μας την ιστορία. Αυτό δεν αποτελεί απλά και μόνο θέμα επιλογής, είναι υποχρέωση όλων μας να συνεισφέρουμε σε ένα καλύτερο αύριο. Συνοδοιπόρος μας σε αυτή την προσπάθεια του Κέντρου Πολιτισμού Ίδρυμα Σταύρος Νιάρχος είναι ο Ρέντζο Πιάνο, εγκεκριμένος αρχιτέκτονας, εξαίρετος άνθρωπος. Η επαγγελματική σοβαρότητα, εμπειρία και η δημιουργική φαντασία του Ρέντζο, ο χαρακτήρας του, ο σεβασμός του για το περιβάλλον και την ιστορία της χώρας μας, αλλά και η πίστη του στο θετικό ρόλο της Ελλάδας στην παραγωγή του πολιτισμού παγκοσμίως, κάνει ιδιαίτερα ευχάριστη και αποδοτική τη συνεργασία μας.
Ορίστε.
Μίλα.
Ναι, Αντρέα.
Μάλιστα. Θα μας ακούει όλους.
Είπαμε θα το κάνουμε μετά.
Οκ. Θα καλέσουμε εμείς.
Δεν το είπα.